Imagine if a person's body started to slowly disappear. Scary, right? That's exactly what happens in our story today. It begins with a simple man named Bob, working in a small-town mill. He was just an ordinary guy, with no extraordinary achievements or fame. He was just trying to make ends meet. Bob's life was already filled with troubles. Separated from his wife, Darla, and his daughter, Eva, he was living in a void. Eva was growing up, and the emotional distance between mother and daughter was increasing. Darla was consumed by Eva's indifference and growing stubbornness. One day, Darla called Bob, worried about Eva. She asked Bob to talk to Eva, but he flatly refused, saying he didn't want anything to do with them anymore. However, hearing his daughter's voice made him feel uneasy. That night, to escape his troubles, he went to a bar where he met a dealer. The dealer told him that his boss, Nelson, needed someone to transport his goods secretly from one place to another. Bob bought some things from the dealer, but was surprised by the rising prices. A few days later, Bob was inspecting a faulty machine at work. As he approached the machine, a co-worker suddenly called out to him, and Bob quickly stepped back, saving his life. After this incident, he asked his boss for a few days off and packed his bags to leave. But on the way, he suddenly felt weak. He lost his balance and his car veered off the road and hit a pole. Somehow, he managed to survive. He immediately called Nelson and told him everything that had happened, then went to a nearby cafe and went to the washroom. There, he washed the blood from his hands, and when he looked at his stomach wound, he was horrified to see that his skin was disappearing in some places. Panic-stricken, he quickly bandaged himself. Nelson soon arrived. Since Bob didn't have the money to repair the car, Nelson offered him a deal. If he would do his job of delivering the goods, Nelson would get his car fixed. Eventually, Bob agreed. Nelson took him to his house, and the next day killed a bear in the forest and put its head in a box. He gave Bob the box, which contained the bear's limbs, which were to be sold on the black market. When Bob was about to leave for work, he went to Darla's house in the evening. When he got there, he found out that Eva was going to stay at a friend's house for the night. The next morning, as he was preparing to leave with the box, Eva suddenly returned home. Seeing Bob, Eva angrily asked, "Why have you come back after so long?" The resentment hidden in her words shook Bob to his core, but he said nothing and left with the box. When he reached the man he was supposed to give the box to, the man warned Bob that working with Nelson was not safe. But Bob silently handed over the box and started to leave. The man thought Bob was unwell, so he gave him a box of special Chinese medicines. When Bob returned home, Eva asked him about his poor condition, but Bob made an excuse that he had been injured at work. Eva tried to talk about her grandfather's serious illness, but Bob avoided answering and changed the subject. After a while, Eva left to meet her friends, but on the way, she stopped at a Chinese shop. Perhaps she was also suffering from some illness that she didn't want to tell anyone about. A woman there showed her some medicines and asked her to meet the doctor sitting in the next room, offering healthy. But Eva refused to meet the doctor and only took a tea box from there. When Eva met her friends, they decided to visit an abandoned mental hospital. While walking around, they started joking about ghosts. During this, Eva mentioned that her grandfather had also been admitted to the same hospital, but had died before she was born. Eva wanted to find her grandfather's papers to know about his illness. She was with her friends, and they went down to the basement, where it was dark and silent. Suddenly, their eyes fell on a body, wrapped in white cloth. As Eva stepped forward, the body seemed to dissolve into thin air, as if it were vanishing. Seeing this, everyone's heart started pounding. Then, one of Eva's friends grabbed her hand in fear, but when she saw that Eva's hand was disappearing from the middle, she screamed and ran away. On the other hand, Darla and Bob were sitting at home at night, talking about Eva's childhood, her laughter, her innocence, and her little tantrums. Everything brought them closer to her. But the next morning, Darla realized that Eva had not returned home at night. She was filled with an unknown fear. She and Bob went out to look for her, but found no trace. A little later, Bob found Eva's phone in her room. Looking at the phone, he realized that she had gone to the mental hospital with her friends. He immediately went to Eva's friend's house with Darla, but Eva's friend's father said that she had not returned home either. Panic-stricken, Bob called Nelson and explained to him that it would take some time to deliver the parcel this time. Bob did not give up. After some time, he found Eva's other friends. He questioned them about Eva, but they were hesitant to talk. In anger, Bob grabbed a boy and almost started fighting. Finally, the boy told him that Eva had gone to the mental hospital with them, but they all ran away in fear, and since then, no one had seen Eva. Bob was shocked to think that Eva must have gone there to know about her grandfather's illness. Meanwhile, when Eva opened her eyes, she found herself trapped in a cage. She was in bad shape and in a lot of pain. On the other hand, her parents had also reached the mental hospital, but the security stopped Bob from entering. Bob's anger erupted and he attacked the security. But due to the pain of his injury, he fell down himself. Then a doctor came, who knew Bob and his father. She told Darla, "Bob is not well, he needs treatment here." Bob started to remember old things. His father was also admitted to this hospital, and he used to visit him as a child. His father did not want Bob to see him in such a condition. The doctor showed Bob his father's room, and suggested that he stay in the hospital too. But Bob refused. "I need Eva, and she needs me," he said. But the security guards forcibly locked him in a room. At night, his eyes suddenly opened, and he saw that the door was open, and the keys to the main gate were kept on the table. He immediately ran out and reached Darla's house, but Darla was not there. Then Nelson called and threatened that if the parcel was not delivered on time, his family would pay the price for his mistake. Bob felt a strange uneasiness and fear growing inside him. He immediately went to Eva's friend's house, who had now returned home. The friend said, "I saw Eva's hand. It was disappearing from the middle. I felt that something terrible was hidden." She returned Eva's bag to Bob, which contained a Chinese tea box. Bob remembered that he had been given a similar box by that mysterious shopkeeper. He immediately went to that shop and asked the shopkeeper about his daughter. The woman was a little nervous and said nothing. Then Bob's eyes fell on Eva's bicycle behind the shop. His uneasiness increased. He took off his hat, and the woman's face was worth seeing. Half of Bob's head was missing. The woman realized that Eva had the same unique condition as Bob. Bob suddenly looked at the doctor's room, and as soon as his eyes fell on a sign, he ran towards it. While running, he took off his clothes so that no one could recognize him. Then, as soon as he reached the basement, he saw the doctor and his assistant. Without wasting any time, Bob attacked them and shouted, "Release Eva immediately!" Then he heard Eva's trembling voice from the cage, "Dad!" Bob quickly reached her, but as soon as his eyes fell on Eva's body, he trembled. Half of Eva's body was disappearing. And seeing this, she was terrified. But Bob took her in his arms and comforted her. "I'm here. Everything will be all right." He quickly broke the lock of the cage and freed Eva, and both of them ran away from there. When they reached home, Darla saw that Bob's body was slowly disappearing. Seeing this, she was worried and started taking care of him. Actually, Darla already knew about Bob's strange disease, but she had kept it hidden. The next morning, when Bob regained consciousness, he confessed the truth to Eva. "I had to stay away from you and Darla because I had this disease in my blood. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't keep it away from you, Eva." Bob started getting ready to leave the house. He said, "Now I will go away, so that this secret does not come out in the world." Hearing this, Eva also decided to go with him. "Dad, I am now a part of this truth. I will be with you every step of the way." Darla waved them goodbye with tears in her eyes, as if she knew this farewell might be the last. On the way, Eva started asking a barrage of questions. Bob told her about the reasons for his solitude. "I distanced myself because I didn't want to be a burden." Eva replied, "Dad, I want to spend every moment with you now. I want to make up for the time we lost." Soon, they reached the place where Bob was supposed to deliver Nelson's parcel. But now, even Bob's face was starting to disappear. Seeing this, Eva used foundation to cover her father's face, and Bob went and handed over the parcel to a stranger. Later, they returned home. As soon as they reached home, Bob gave Eva the Chinese tea box, and Eva made tea. Then Bob said, "Here, we can live in peace. People here don't care if someone is visible or disappearing." Meanwhile, when Nelson opened the parcel, there were only iron nails inside. He got angry and went to take revenge on Bob. He pointed a gun at Eva's head and asked, "Where is Bob?" Eva lied. He sold the house and left. But Nelson was suspicious because Bob's belongings were still at home. He decided to punish Eva for Bob's mistake. Just then, an invisible force pushed Nelson. Eva realized in a moment that her father, even though completely invisible, was there to protect her. While killing Nelson, Bob promised Eva, "I will never leave you alone." Then they threw Nelson's body into the forest, where a hungry bear ate it. After this incident, Eva bought black glasses from a shop and sat in the car talking to her father. Bob told her, "Your grandfather never wanted me to see him in this condition. I thought he died in a mental hospital, but the truth was that he himself had set me free from there. He still wanders around the hospital, and people think he is a ghost." Then Eva remembered the basement of the hospital, where she had seen a body wrapped in white cloth. She decided that she would also go to the hospital to meet her grandfather, who was still wandering there, invisible. So friends, according to you, is someone slowly disappearing a superpower or a weakness? Do you consider this invisibility as a power? Or is it a sad curse? Please share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next story. Until then, goodbye.